Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jungle. We are a Cincinnati Bengals broadcast brought to you by the wonderful people at the Riverfront and, of course, Blue Wire. I am Tim Daniel. I am joined today by Owen Timmerding. And Owen, it's pretty rare here on Welcome to the Jungle. We have a breaking news podcast, or as the kids call it, the emergency pod. But we wanted to kind of touch on this real quick because the news has come out today in a press release and a nice graphic and image from multiple people within the organization that Bengals defensive end Sam Hubbard is announcing his retirement. And this was kind of come as a shock. I'm not shocked that Sam Hubbard's not on the team anymore because I think we all expected that, obviously. But I'm shocked to think that he will not be playing football next season. And the thing about this that's kind of a bummer is that Sam did age pretty quickly. I don't want to get into the negatives here by any means because there's a lot of great Sam Hubbard moments, and we'll obviously talk about a couple of them. But the kid's from Cincinnati, went to Ohio State, played his whole career for the Bengals. The only one who probably has a cooler version of that is Kevin Huber for the fact he literally stayed within the city his whole playing career between high school and got on the NFL. But still, pretty awesome. And what an awesome career for Sam Hubbard, and really cool we got to spend it all at the Bengals.
Yeah, Sam Hubbard's one of these core guys of this iteration of the Bengals. Like, really, there's a whole group. Like my group of Bengals was AJ Green and Dunlap and them. There's a whole group of kids that Sam Hubbard's their guy. And Sam Hubbard did so many awesome things, not for just the Bengals. He was a great player, and they kind of built that defense around his strengths at times. And he was also just such a critical piece to the Cincinnati area as well.
Yeah, so you mentioned it, obviously just really involved in the community. There's those really cool pictures of him growing up, going to Paul Brown Stadium with his grandpa and his dad. And I can relate because I was also that kid going to games with my dad and my uncles and my cousins, and always had a lot of fun with that. So obviously you mentioned that. So 3rd round draft pick out of Ohio State. I'm sure Seth is pissed at us, so we're not doing the show with him today. So there's a Buckeye retiring. But man, I just kind of wanted to kind of reflect on, instead of getting into why this is happening, but just kind of take a minute to kind of talk about some of Sam's like career highlights, because there are a lot. And obviously the first thing everyone's going to think of is the Baltimore game, which is the most incredible, unbelievable, insane play still in my lifetime, pretty sure. I still have no words for it. Every time I watch it, I still get so happy, especially when he's running to the sideline. He's like, oxygen. But that's for sure, obviously, going to be his crowning moment. And I'll obviously let you say a few as well. But if you remember his rookie year, the fumble recovery against Miami, he takes to the house. The AFC Championship game against the Chiefs, when they win to go to the Super Bowl, I don't think they win without him. I mean, some of the plays he makes there when he's spying Mahomes at the end of the in overtime in the 4th quarter and forces him to kick a field goal to keep the Bengals alive and go to overtime. That was humongous. And of course, I mean, what better way to go out, man? His final play of his NFL career, he lines up as a tight end and catches a touchdown against the Titans, and that is his swan song.
Yeah, what I'm going to remember about Sam Hubbard is he was so reliable for the last 2 years are a poor representation on how essential Sam Hubbard was to the Bengals. I mean, he was great. That first year with Hendrickson, the pass rush was incredible.
It was.
And he was so unique because he could drop back and he could spy, and he was so good at taking care of Mahomes. And really, he's almost the reason they won that second AFC Championship game for how well he played in that one. So for a 5 years, for really I'd say 4-year stretch, Sam Hubbard was probably the second best player on the defense, if not the best. And that's what makes these last 2 years so hard, with the lingering ankle thing, and then the bad knee injury that he had to end this year, which, to not stray with the happiness, is part of the reason why I think he's retiring. Is I think might be a little too much for him to overcome, and I could totally understand that. But You think I was at that Miami game. That was kind of my first introduction to Sam Hubbard. I remember being there with my brother, and that was awesome. That was incredible, and he was so elusive and quick, uniquely fast for his size. I remember, and then I just remember reading all the stories about him being from Cincinnati, and if there's one thing people from this area love more than
Mm-hmm.
it's when one of their own plays for their professional teams.
Absolutely. So I'm looking through his draft right now because he was picked. He was a 2018 draft, and this is a very mixed reaction draft for the Bengals. First round, they took Billy Price, and we know how that one ended up being traded for B.J. Hill. Second round, they take Jesse Bates.
Mm,
Third round, they have back-to-back picks. So they take Sam Hubbard, and right after that, took Malik Jefferson.
okay.
And so two of the four hit in the first
Yeah.
round. Fourth round, they took Mark Walton, who,
Mm,
you know, we know how that went. Fifth round, they took Devontae Harris. I don't remember him at all, I'll be
nope.
honest with you. I know that sounds terrible. They took Darius Phillips also in the fifth round as a supplemental pick.
Yeah.
And then let me see if I have anything else here. So I'm sure there's more. It's just, you guys don't want me to go through all that, and that's fine. So yeah, him and Jesse Bates, kind of the saving grace of that draft, because that was
Yeah.
that one big picture doesn't look very good.
No.
But here's his career in Cincinnati, man. 104 career games, 88 career starts, 1 career interception against this year. Technically on defense, 1 career touchdown, that Miami game, which we were talking about, but obviously we know about the Baltimore game and the Tennessee game, as I mentioned. So technically 3 touchdowns. 5 career fumble recoveries, 38 and a half career sacks, 236 career solo tackles, 55 career tackles for loss, 98 career hits, and also this year had his only career safety.
There you are. Yeah. I when I was watching, I watched a montage of his highlights before we got on, and totally forgot about that excellent safety he had versus Baltimore this past season. He was just so good. And I'm happy he retired because I think it kind of ends the story at a good speed for him. I think he's definitely could have a couple of good years left in him if he wanted to, but I think it's probably best for himself, and he was going to get cut regardless, so it kind of makes this easier for everyone instead of the headline being Bengals release
Yeah.
a homegrown kid, it's homegrown kid Cincinnati Bengals legend Sam Hubbard retires. And that's got a lot better of a tone than the Bengals cut ties with one of their own. So he did the Bengals a service with that, and whether that's intended to or not, I think it's looked at in a much better, bigger light, and we can have these conversations like this where he was a Bengal through and through, and he was very open about how he wanted to play for this city and how he wanted to take care of his own. It was really remarkable and made him super, super easy to cheer for. Great guy too. I've met him a couple times. He was a pleasure to
Yeah.
talk to. I just came up and introduced myself, and then we chit chatted for a couple minutes. So it's stuff like that put him out above the rest of just the random athlete you meet on the street.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to say all-time great, because I think there's a certain level of player to that as far as Bengal
Yeah.
all-time great. But Bengal all-time fan favorite,
Yeah,
100%.
that's more what I meant.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. That's what I was
Yeah.
saying. Like, I wasn't trying to like take away from your point by any means, but I think when you look at his career, you're going to say really good career, but will forever be loved in the city. So, how soon is he the ruler of the jungle for a game next year? Week what? Like first game of the year, home opener. Is he out there?
I bet it's whatever Baltimore game, whatever
You're probably
Baltimore
right.
home game.
Yeah, you're probably
Yeah.
right. I'm sure Baltimore's very happy he's retiring because he seemed to have his best moments against them.
He did.
Yeah.
He really, like you said, you can't even really put into words what you feel in that moment. And that was pretty incredible that he was able to bring that to us in such a big stage.
Yeah, let's just talk about that, because even though it's been 3 years, it's still so you remember all of your feelings in that moment. And you remember it is a rush of feelings. So I know I'm not saying anything Bengals fans don't already know, but Baltimore's driving down the field. They look like they're unstoppable. They look like they're about to take the lead. And they get down to the goal line. And was it Hundley? It was Tyler Hundley, quarterback, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Tyler Hundley reaches over the goal line to try to score. And the ball gets knocked out of his hands, which was Jermaine Pratt knocking out of his hands, remember correctly.
Him and Wilson, I think, both collided at the same time.
That's right. And then Sam Hubbard catches the ball in the air and just runs it 100, like what's they call it, 101 yards technically, or 98 yards technically. And you could tell it's like looking at the jumbotron ahead of him to make sure Mark Andrews doesn't catch up to him, which I would do the same. Yeah, which I would do the same exact thing.
Yeah.
And with scores, you could just see like they show him on. I remember they show him on the jumbotron after he scores. He's got the oxygen tank on. He's like pumping his hand.
That was awesome.
It's an eternal all-time Bengals moment that we will never ever forget. Not only just like the fact they finally got a division playoff win. Because in our lifetime we had both the Steelers losses. But the fact that it was like they go the next week, they beat Buffalo, which I almost think if it wasn't for the victory in the AFC Championship game, I would think would be the signature game of this group of Bengal players because they just won the Baltimore, just beat the brakes off them to where Baltimore was complaining about their jersey color.
Yeah.
He was really good in that game too. We didn't even mention that.
He was great.
Yeah.
He was really great that whole year. That was probably his best season. And it was because it was that second year of him and Hendrickson, and they had formed they had a lot more continuity, and that defense was great too. And that whole Bengals team was awesome. And I can't believe we were, we were 1 yard away from being down a touchdown, and instead we flipped it, and then that carried it to the end of the game.
Yeah, for sure. And then we talked about the Chiefs game, the AFC Championship when they win. And I think one thing we never talked about with him, and we talk about the fact he was this really good run stopper. He was really really strong and made all these amazing plays. But the closing speed he has on Mahomes there.
Yeah.
That is insane. Like that's never mentioned just how freaking fast he got to him when he spied him to make sure he couldn't make a decision to throw the ball.
Yeah, and I was going to say that you can see the athleticism in him. He was always so athletic, how he never got, you see these big defensive linemen kind of get crossed and tripped over their feet sometimes. You never worried about that with Sam Hubbard because he was so balanced from that point of view, and that's what allowed him for the Bengals to be able to play him that way against Kansas City.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, we don't have to go too deep into it because he's just retiring. He's still alive. But obviously awesome career for Sam Hubbard. Thanks for everything. We should get him on Welcome to the Jungle sometime. We should see if we can make that.
Now he's got time now, so we can give him shoot our shot.
Yeah. Hey, last thing before we get out of here, your bold prediction. Will there be a day that Sam Hubbard is in the Bengals Ring of Honor?
I'm going to say, yeah, because I think just why not? I mean, they got to get all these guys that are. I mean, the guys that are going to get in are going to get in. You know what I mean? Like the guys that need to be in are going to get in first,
right?
And then he'll be the guy. You know, he reminds me a lot of, and this is a Reds comparison, is Sean Casey, and how everyone just loved him. And Sean Casey got in the Reds Hall of Fame. He was a great baseball player, but he's not a MLB Hall of Famer. And Sam Hubbard's not a Pro Football Hall of Famer, but he was a great player for when at the time. And he was a guy that everyone loved. So I think and Sean Casey got his flowers. So Sam Hubbard will get his recognition in some shape or form in Bengals lore and engraved somehow.
I was actually at the game Sean Casey was inducted into the Reds Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they played
when he screamed at the end of his speech.
Super underrated bobblehead, by the way. That was an elite bobblehead, was the Sean Casey one.
That's a good one.
It is. I wish I still had it. But all right, man. Well, I think we kind of touched on everything here. I know we're kind of keeping it on what's going to be the latest in Bengals news. So if there's any more breaking reports, we will be here to cover it. But on behalf of Owen Timmerding, on behalf of Seth Shaner, I am Tim Daniel. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And of course, Hoo Day.